In the month of May, I made $1,906.72 trading stocks and Bitcoin. Welcome on into the video. This is our monthly recap. It has been a while. So, well, I guess it's been about a month since the last monthly recap. So let's get into it. I'm going to pop out of the way so you can see all the stats, all the stuff, not a lot going on. We mostly swing trade, and this has been the style that I love so much more than sitting at the computer trying to day trade all the time. I do not like it, and the stats over the past 2 years have told me to stop doing it if I want to optimize my numbers. So that's what I'm doing. Great. Awesome. So yeah, you can see all that stuff. I'll pop back up. I'll pop back up on the screen. And then once we get into the reporting section, which I think is new and they've updated that. So we'll check that out here. But we'll get into that and I'll get off the screen so you can see it more. Profit factor of 2, trade expectancy of 238. We just had a resync, meaning that TradeZella just every so often will just resync with the brokers and make sure that they've got all the trades up to date. I do have open positions as I'm filming the video, but the market's closed. I am in a crypto trade, but the market's closed. That trade is not at stop loss or take profit yet. It's closer to stop loss actually than take profit, but it hasn't hit either one, so we're just chilling on that. Average win-loss or win percentage, 50%. Average win-loss of 2. It's a little bit skewed because we had at the end of the month a break-even trade that technically goes down as a loss, even though these are like essentially break-even trades. So it's a little bit skewed, but that evens out over time. So not something I really think too much about. But overall, you know, here's what we're looking at. Is this amazing? No, I'm up like about one, like if I took one trade this month and it worked, I'm up like just shy of what I would expect to make on that one trade, roughly. It's kind of, I would expect to make well over, not when I say well, over 2,000, ideally 2,500, maybe up to 3,000. It depends upon the exact trade and the exact risk reward, the exact situation. But I'm looking in that 2,500 ballpark. If I was to just win a trade, like one trade was to work and it was to happen to be hit target, no stop loss, no partial profits, just straight up winner, so we're up just shy of that, which I think makes sense. There's not a lot, but what I'm gonna do is as the months tick by, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start broadening this picture out. Now I can't really broaden this picture out because if I was to go to year to date, this number is going to be kind of skewed because you see up in the top right now, if you see the daily P&L, the numbers are very, very small relative to as of late. Like what's going on? Well, I recently sized up as of, I believe, it was April 1st. I sized up to now trading with $200,000+ across the board for all my trades. So that's why. I can't, but it did happen to be just on April 1st that I got the accounts live, ready to go. We were good to go. So I can't necessarily look at the data with the same lens if we're going to go back to the beginning of this year. Like we can look at the win rates and the average win loss, but we can't necessarily look at the profit numbers necessarily because it's going to be a little bit wonky. But what I will do is as the months go by, so for example, this month, as the months go by, what I'm going to be doing is, this is June. I have no trades this month. As the months go by, I'll be now going back to April 1st, 2025 and looking at that data. There's also good stuff to be taken from the bigger picture as well to compare like win rates and average risk reward and stuff. Don't get me wrong, but that's what I'm going to do. So let's get into the good stuff. There wasn't a lot of trades. So if I jump into the reporting tab, which I believe they did revamp this, it does look a lot nicer. It looks a little bit, you could say cleaner. Is it cleaner? I don't know. It might look a little more complicated if you're seeing it for the first time, but you get some more detailed data here. So let me dive into the overview. This is kind of what we always look at. It shows you kind of your average hold time and stuff. Average hold time for all the trades was 21 days, 1 hour, 6 minutes. I didn't have a lot of trades. I'll be honest. I didn't have a lot of trades. 8 trades, but because we were trading on taking the same trades on multiple accounts, I mean, it's more like, let me just go back to that main page. We had locked gains here on Walmart. So yeah, it was Walmart, a Bitcoin trade, a Walmart trade. We had another Bitcoin trade. So 2 Bitcoin trades, a Walmart trade, and a Costco trade. So really there was like 4 trades. So there wasn't a lot going on this month. But that's how I like it because Keeps it simple. So now as I jump into here, here's where it gets interesting. So I'm going to start looking through some of this data. Let's go into the setups. So this month, I really only played breakouts and a failed breakdown. That was on Walmart. I'm contemplating Walmart again as I speak, which as I'm looking at it right now, I'm not in. But here's the chart. I mean, I like what I'm seeing. You know, you can make the argument. Here's where it gets interesting. You can make the argument that, you know, it's breaking out as it is, and it's gotten decent volume on the breakout. I didn't enter it because it's not like perfectly my strategy. I like it. I think this level goes. I think we've got room. I think an all-time high push is certainly possible. I think that this gap is going to fill first, and then all-time highs is going to be the next question. So I think it's very, very solid of a trade, but like I can't justify it perfectly. So I've been hesitant to take it. So if I did take it, it would probably be a little bit of a smaller size situation. But at the same time, I always look back on these and say, you know what, if it's not 100% what I'm looking for, then just don't take it. You know what I mean? That's what I tend to tell myself. And it tends to pan out pretty well. The data tells me that at least. So bull flag breakouts netting about break even, and then failed breakdown trade was Walmart. Walmart kind of just made the money. That was really it on that one trade. So when you only have a couple trades, it's not easy to get a lot of data out of this, but as you start zooming out with bigger time frames, it's easier to tell. Mistakes, nothing there. Custom tags. Here's the time frame. So time frames, where did we make money, lose money, etc. If we were to look at all the time frames across the board, so we made about $156 on the one day. We made about 17 there. There is something missing. Oh, you know what's missing? There is definitely something that I have to go back and fix. So here's what you can do. You can check. I check this off by going through here. Then I go through the trades and I make sure that oh, here's why. Here's why, because I have a 1 week and a 1 day. I tagged it twice. That's why, because it technically was valid on both time frames. Okay, that's why. Nothing crazy to report there. So that's why it looks a lot better than it really is. But you see the data and the stats. I wanted to log it as both a 1 day and a 1 week time frame on that Walmart trade because it did technically fit both criteria. But when you do that, it in this situation, it doesn't double count the P&L because like P&L is P&L. But when I calculate the net profits, because I tag it as a 1 week and a 1 day, it's going to go down as it's going to go into both of those categories. So that's the deal. When realistically, you know, if I just tag it because it was one. So going back to that Walmart trade, why did I tag it on both time frames? Because, I mean, here's the daily time frame. Okay, here's your false breakdown. And then here's your weekly time frame. If you just jump out here, you also see a false breakdown with a huge bullish engulfing. So it's like I couldn't decide on which time frame I want. I really thought was the most valid, and I didn't really pick it on either one. It was kind of a combination of the two that took the trade. The stop loss was back down here, I believe. Or actually, the stop loss was probably back at this level at the time because I probably got in somewhere in here and then just rolled with it, and it got decently there. I think I ended up taking profits somewhere in this ballpark because we had earnings coming up, and so I just like got out before earnings. You can go back to watch that Walmart recap and see more about it. So that's the deal there. Okay, cool. Let me go back to now, go back to April through now so we can kind of see some of this data a bit better. Let me go back to the main performance tab here. So net from April, that does not seem right. Oh, it's cumulative. Sorry, that's cumulative. Yeah, I haven't looked at this stuff very closely in terms of the new update on TradeZella. Let's go back to the main page here. So going back from the beginning of April to now, we're actually down $330, believe it or not, which is like just around break even. The stats are not good, to be honest with you, in terms of win rate being above 50%, but it's kind of skewed because some of these trades are kind of been wonky. And the average win-loss is not very good, meaning we've taken some larger losses and then winners. I also just haven't had. I started off with 2 or 3 trades that were like, or it was 2 trades at the time. If you go back to the beginning of April, if you know what happened around then, that was the tariff time. So we had some trades that I was in overnight that ended up opening up and gapping down lower than what my original stop loss was. And so that was the downside risk. It really didn't crush me, but that's essentially, if I look back at this, I would be profitable if it wasn't for those trades to have been much larger losses than they were originally planned to be. I'd be up like maybe a couple hundred or like $1,000 green since April 1st, if that wasn't the case. So I take it with a grain of salt. I'll let the data even out over time. You can go back to those recap videos and see all that stuff if you want to. So nothing insane, nothing crazy to dive really deeper into, guys. Like, this is kind of the deal. So going forward, I mean, I just like the swings. I think the thought process as I'm getting more comfortable with the trade size and stuff, I've noticed something back to last month. I've noticed that I really don't care. What is this? What is this angle? There it is. I really don't care. So what I mean by that is I was worried that, you're going to be trading with $200,000 plus because I'm trading with like a $200,000 account. And then I've got a 25K, a 10K. Some are funded, some are not. But like, I was like, is this going to throw me off? And it really hasn't at all. And I'm happy to report that the sizing up has not changed anything really. And I had to kind of go through that first like April storm of like, holy shit, like, of course, this is when I size up to a larger account. Of course, the first two trades that I'm in, we've got the freaking tariff, get massive gap downs, crazy news. And I'm like, they were valid trades, and then the tariff should happen, and then they weren't valid trades anymore, and then, shit happens. That's what happens. It's part of the game. But the good news is that despite that volatility, I didn't get destroyed. I think it's very easy for someone to blow up in a situation like that, or if you're trading with prop firms, which I am on some of the accounts, or actually I think all of them are now prop firm accounts in the meantime, because they did correct some of the wrongs that I was not so happy with, although I am waiting for a payout that has not hit my account in about... It's been like a week or two, maybe 3. Sketch. You don't need too many of those. You get a couple of those, and you say, "Yeah, I'm out of here, motherfuckers." But that's a story for a different day. If it occurs, we'll see. I think we should be fine, but we'll see. But yeah, I was worried, like, because you could easily get blown out on stuff like that. But that just shows I think I had pretty good risk management where I could have a huge L, that was much larger than I planned, and it not destroy me. Yeah, was it great? No. Would I like to have that back? Yes. If I could go back and in hindsight see when the tariff board poster came out, what was going to happen to the market, would I have sold prior to the market closing that day? Yes, I would have. But I didn't. I didn't know that was going to happen. No one did, right? So that was kind of the situation. It is what it is. However, my thought process going forward is based on how my trading is. If you follow this for a while, it's been about 2 years, you can go back on this channel and then back on my personal channel, Thomas Carvo. I was posting all the recaps, and they've all been posted for the past, we're coming up on 2 full years that I have been posting recaps. So I think it's been a little bit over 2 years since, like, I technically, if you go back to find the day that I turned profitable in hindsight and like have been consistently trending up since, it was back in like end of April of 2023. And I've been like on a very steady trajectory since. The thing is, the trajectory is not massive, exponential curve. The trajectory is very slow and steady up and to the right. Not a ton above break even, but above break even over the bigger picture. And so my view is like, well, we got to get to bigger size. A, we're doing that. And then B, with our bigger size, now that we're trading less frequently, we need to take even larger size, because if I only trade, a couple times a month, what's the downside risk? In this situation, I'm probably not going to have many situations where I lose 10 in a row. Maybe my max loss from a swing trade perspective is more like 5 or 6 in a row, and I'm able to, as I gather more data, to size a little bit larger to accompany or accommodate that. You know what I'm saying? So that's the situation that I'm currently in. And I think I can definitely afford to risk slightly over 1% per trade. I haven't done it yet because I'm not going to change anything just yet, but I can afford to risk, between 1 and 1.5% per trade to make 2 to 2.5%, 3% per trade. Because I just don't trade as much, So when your frequency is lower, there's not as much downside risk of if there's no over trading risk, or there's very little over trading risk, then the chances of you blowing accounts or hitting drawdown, thresholds, it's not as high, or the risk isn't there necessarily as much if the data tells me that. Now, that's my speculation, and that's kind of my thought process. So in doing so, what that would allow you to do, to have slightly bigger margins, because if I'm noticing margins and you notice we go through the end of the year and let's say we finish up, there's no guarantees, but let's say we finish up and we're up a couple $1,000s, and you say to yourself, well, a couple $1,000s on $200,000 account is a couple percent. It's like, well, a couple percent, is that, that's not bad. Like, don't get me wrong, that is not bad. And I'll take that. I will absolutely take that, because it's not taking up a ton of my time anymore. A. And B, it's something that I enjoy doing. So it's like, I love looking at data. I love looking at stats. I love honing in on the craft. Now it's like, okay, if I enjoy this and it happens to make me some money, cool. But how can we make it make me more money is kind of like the scaling plan, or the ultimate goal behind it all. But at the same time, it continues to kind of reiterate to myself how rare it is to find people who have been doing this for more than a year or two, who are consistently profitable. And you can put me in that category too, technically, right? Because technically with the strategy I've been trading, it's been 2 years. To find people who've been consistently doing it for, let's say, 3+ years, consistent, 3 to 5+, and who are actually profitable by a large margin, meaning you're able to consistently beat the average S&P return through your trading, your active trading, year after year after year, without having huge hiccups. What you'll find is that people can beat it by a large margin, for a year or two, and then they'll have a huge drawdown, or then they'll have years of drawdown, or they'll beat it by a little bit and then they'll have a terrible year, or they'll lose, or they'll miss by a lot. And so my perspective and view is that if you can just consistently make money, fuck the market, fuck the average. I don't care. If I had a strategy that can consistently make money and was consistently profitable, and as time went on and I had more money, I built my accounts larger, I funded it, and I got a little bit larger, and I can consistently make a few percent per year on just an average year or even a bad year, hey, as I've said many times, I will still take it. I would still do it. It's making money. The issue you have, and this is why I make these videos, to check myself and for people to see this kind of transparently for those who are watching. This is on a new channel, so there's not many people who are watching this video, or in general. But the reason why, it's like, if I was consistently losing, we'd be able to kind of check that and see hey, we're not going to keep doing this. We got to change something if we're consistently losing, whether it's a strategy, whether it's the time frames, whatever. And the data from TradeZella helps me see that. But like anything else, you can figure it out if you really wanted to on your own. So that is where we're at. That's the situation with the accounts. Hope this is helpful. If you're still watching, I really appreciate it, because most people are probably not. First off, there are very few who are watching this channel because it is new. And I started to put my trade recaps on this channel versus my personal. Because my personal channel, I'm doing other stuff that I want to post because I haven't had an outlet to post it. And I'm saying, you know what? Let's post it on my personal channel that has just my name. And then TC Trades just makes sense to post trade recaps. Just makes sense. I made the channel. Boom, here we are. If you want to use TradeZella to track your stuff, I'll leave a link below. Save 10% with code TC10. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.